Thank you for watching the Channel 4 News here at 5 and 5:30.
Stay where you are. Anna Garcia is standing by with a look at what's new on the Channel 4 News at 6. Anna.
Colleen and Paul, Proposition 8, the ban on same-sex marriage. By now you know it passed. Coming up only at 6, two women who defied odds, and they tied the knot today in L.A. County.
We realized that it was really important and needed to be done right now.
So how did they get a marriage license with the ban in effect? Also at 6, long lines for Obama keepsakes see the rush at the newsstands across Southern California. And beam me up, Scotty, the much talked about election hologram. Did you see it tonight? We can show you how CNN did it. And the Latino vote, why Barack Obama couldn't have won the White House without their help. Local reaction just 3 minutes away. It's next at 6.
Barack Obama, elected the 44th President of the United States. Reaction from across the country and around the world. Tonight on a special edition of NBC Nightly News with Brian Williams, America's #1 evening newscast.
Live from NBC4, this is the Channel 4 News at 6.
We all just get along as equal, as one nation, no matter what color the skin.
Members of LA's African-American community joining people all across the country in celebrating the election of Barack Obama. And you're looking live right now in West Hollywood, where there's no celebration tonight, but a planned protest over the apparent passage of the gay marriage ban. Good evening. I'm Chuck Henry.
And I'm Anna Garcia. It is the day after the election. President-elect Barack Obama spent the day working on his transition. His administration will have hundreds of jobs to fill in only 10 weeks to do it. Here's a look at the electoral map. Obama has 349 electoral votes. McCain has 173. 270 were needed to win. We still don't know who gets North Carolina's 15 electoral votes, although right now Obama is slightly ahead. Senator Obama won 52% of the vote to Senator McCain's 46%.
The election of Barack Obama is a dream come true for many African Americans and many of those old enough to remember the civil rights era. They're simply finding it just hard to believe. Channel 4's Fernell Chapman is live now in South Los Angeles with that part of our coverage. Fernell.
Well, Chuck, this was the scene of an election celebration here in South Los Angeles this afternoon, a celebration that actually began last night. It was a night filled with emotion, a time of historical significance, especially for African Americans. Barack Obama strolled onto a stage as the next president of the United States, the first black man to become the elected leader of the free world.
All I could do was just cry. Just cry.
Tears of joy.
Tears of joy.
This has meaning for not just black people in America, but for all people in America.
Things are changing. America is changing to an extent. The face of America is changing. The thinking of America is changing.
The politics of race is on the way out, and we have a new politics of dignity and respect and equality for all people.
In South LA, a community block party was held to celebrate Obama's election. It was a show of pride by some of LA's less fortunate, people for whom Obama has apparently ignited a new spark of hope.
It's time for a change, and I think we're overdue for that.
I thought I would never live to see a day that we would get a black American president.
It's not just a black thing, it's everything.
I'm just blessed to be able to be alive to see such a thing transpire. It's just wonderful.
There was lots of free food in addition to entertainment. It was all sponsored by Dr. James Mays, who operates a neighborhood clinic in a community ravaged by unemployment, violence, and drugs.
This is a moment of American history that's as great as the first shot fired in the Civil War, and as great as Martin Luther King's "I Have a Dream" speech. But this is a day of rejoicing for all America's citizens.
Now, many African-American seniors remember a time when blacks weren't even allowed to vote. But now an African-American family will soon occupy the White House. Live in South Los Angeles, I'm Fernell Chapman, Channel 4 News.
Barack Obama owes his election in part to a strong showing in the Hispanic community. Latinos turned out in force to help elect him the 44th president of the United States. Latino voters in Los Angeles went to the polls in large numbers, but the California vote for Obama was not really ever in doubt. Experts say it's the Latinos in Florida, Colorado, and New Mexico that helped Obama win these key swing states. CNN's national exit poll found that 66% of Latinos voted for Barack Obama. 32% voted for John McCain. Hispanics are 15% of the U.S. population and 9% of the electorate.
I think it's fantastic that the Latino community had a huge voice in this election. We were able to make a difference. Our voices were heard.
Now they know that Latinos count.
And in Florida, where the Cuban community has traditionally supported Republicans, Obama won 57% of the Latino vote.
Last night, people who took to the streets in celebration, but tonight there's a much different mood out in the West Hollywood area, where San Vicente Boulevard is now shut down between Melrose Avenue and Santa Monica Boulevard as opponents of Proposition 8 are gathering, and they're going to try to figure out what they should do next. The constitutional amendment eliminating same-sex couple marriages has passed with 52.5% voting yes. Today, supporters of Prop 8 said that they believe passage of the measure invalidates all of California's same-sex marriages. But the state's attorney general says not so fast, and our Gordon Tokumatsu now is live in West Hollywood with more for us. Gordon.
Well, Chuck, once again, the rules of the game have changed for California's same-sex couples. Still, many of them attempted to get married today in this state, as you'll see, with mixed results.
It was a little bit of a struggle getting the license.
Tonya Pace and Jacqueline Hicks this afternoon at the county registrar's office in Norwalk. Married, they told us, with paperwork and recognition by the state of California. Or are they?
After some persistence, we got the ultimate decision that said they're able to process us.
In Sacramento at City Hall this morning, Jake Rowe attempted to marry James Eslick, but someone from the clerk's office stopped the wedding.
Even though we didn't have a ceremony or a license or a piece of paper, I love Jake with all of my heart.
If you're a little confused, you're not alone. Clerks at county and city offices across the state are grappling with specifics about what exactly Proposition 8 has changed. Many are suspending same-sex marriages right away, pending official word from the state. Attorney General Jerry Brown says that's probably a good idea.
Initiatives that don't specify another date become effective the day after the election.
A spokesman at LA's Norwalk office says the initiative's purpose to essentially outlaw same-sex marriage doesn't go into effect until the vote is certified. We're told at least 3 couples got in under the wire at the chapel late this morning. But state officials are not willing to say such unions are in fact legal. Brown says the only marriages his office will protect are those that happened after the state Supreme Court took action to allow them and before last night.
The measure that was written by the Yes on 8 people was very simple, one sentence. It did not say the measure was retroactive.
And as far as we were concerned, the Constitution says we could get married.
Legal experts predict a virtual flood of lawsuits in the coming weeks, from couples to legal foundations to civil rights groups. Almost without doubt, they tell us, one of those cases will reach the Supreme Court again, and the process will start all over. And we are back here live on San Vicente Boulevard in West Hollywood. It is closed down here for a Prop 8 rally, a no on Prop 8 rally. I can tell you as I step out of the shot here, we had a bit of an incident here just a few minutes before we went on the air. We had a deputy actually hit by a pickup truck here on San Vicente. He appears to be okay, obviously sitting up and talking with his compatriots here. Looks like some paramedics from LA County have arrived to administer some help. But at this point, it looks as if the officer is going to be okay. It's not clear exactly what the extent of his injuries are, but he is receiving medical aid at this point. Obviously a very dangerous situation, very dark here on San Vicente Boulevard. Shut down, as we said, between Santa Monica Boulevard and Melrose for the next couple of hours for this no on Prop 8 rally. And, if there's anything to develop here that we can report, we will certainly keep you updated. That's the latest from here in West Hollywood. I'm Gordon Tokumatsu. Back to you.
All right. Thank you, Gordon. Let's take a look now at a few other measures on the ballot that were decided today. Late this afternoon, the Secretary of State declared that Proposition 4 had been defeated. It would have required parental notification for minors to have an abortion. Measure R, the money to fund public transportation projects in LA County, appears to have won the 2/3 majority needed for passage, but its margin is razor thin, and thousands of mail-in and provisional ballots have not yet been counted. Proposition 11, the redistricting measure, appears to have passed, also by a very thin margin, 50.6% yes to 49.4% no.
Los Angeles, last night, the Los Angeles Unified School District scored a huge victory with the passage of Measure Q. Now, that measure will provide $7 billion in bonds to repair and upgrade existing schools. The voters approved the measure overwhelmingly. It won with more than 68% of the vote. Channel 4's Kim Baldonado has been following this story.
9th Street Elementary in downtown Los Angeles is in desperate need of upgrades. The entire school consists of portable classrooms, essentially trailers, which are nearly 40 years old. There is no cafeteria, only a shack from which food is distributed, and outdoor benches which border the parking lot. The school does not have a room larger than a classroom, so all parent meetings and school assemblies must be held outdoors. But LAUSD officials say Measure Q will change things
because
here.
now 9th Street Elementary School, where 50% of the students who are homeless, many of them come from the Garment District, will not look like this because of Measure Q.
LAUSD Superintendent David Brewer joined other district officials today in thanking voters who overwhelmingly passed Measure Q with nearly 69% of the vote.
Thank you for supporting our vision that LAUSD could be the leader in urban reform.
The $7 billion bond will pay for repairs, upgrades, and new technology for some of the district's oldest schools.
As you look around at this school, you can see what they've had to endure. We're going to change that along with many of our schools.
Strong supporters of Measure Q included the LA Chamber of Commerce and labor unions, which stand to benefit from construction contracts.
You know, this is kind of victory for labor. It's a victory for business. It's a victory for kids.
It's now up to the school board to come up with a list of priorities. In downtown Los Angeles, Kim Baldonado, Channel 4 News.
Did you snag a piece of history?
Yeah, coming up, it's the rush at newsstands for the headline that was heard around the world.
I'm Mary Parks in the Inland Empire, where a scuffle between a casino patron and security has a very serious outcome. The story coming up.
Think you have a cheating spouse, a child experimenting with drugs, or an undiagnosed STD? Home testing kits are flying off store shelves, but is there a risk to these easy-to-use tests? Thursday on the Channel 4 News at 11.
Not so great on Wall Street today as the roller coaster continued today. Fears of a recession eased yesterday's election rally. The Dow slid a whopping 486 points. The Nasdaq declined 98, and the S&P 500 ended up 53 points lower on the day. Nationwide, voters turned out in record numbers to cast their ballots in yesterday's election. Some experts estimate as many as 133 million people went to the polls. Here in Los Angeles County, more than 82% of all the eligible voters actually cast ballots. That's the highest number since 1968, when 86% voted. Nationally, an estimated 62.5% of registered voters went to the polls. That's the most since 1964.
Lots of people wanted a piece of last night's historic moment, and so they lined up to buy newspapers as keepsakes. And after a while, in some places, those papers were hard to find. People lined up at this newsstand in Studio City hoping to pick up an edition of the Los Angeles Times. Across the country, leading newspapers were forced to print extra copies just to keep up with the demand. Some of the people who lined up say that they wanted the paper to save for their children or their grandchildren.
A lot of very fancy electronics last night. Did you see the one on CNN?
No, I was here.
It is our Gee Whiz video of the day. Still ahead, how they pulled off the election hologram.
I was looking at your
well,
map,
you'll get
Chuck.
to see it coming up here.
All right. Also ahead, beaten while gambling at Pechanga Casino, a 70-year-old man and his wife share what happened on their not-so-happy wedding anniversary.
Gorgeous day today, but we have a wind advisory and a frost advisory to talk about. My live Weather Plus forecast just ahead.
From our election headquarters tonight, we'll take stock of the sweeping political change in our country, the new president-elect, the new political era in America. Tonight on Nightly News.
Tonight is the new night for justice.
I like the sound of this.
Kits on the case on a new Knight Rider. Allow me to drive. Then the Wednesday premiere of Life.
Want to show you my badge?
Still here.
Solving television's most fascinating cases. And the original Wednesday crime drama is back.
Just get me the indictment.
The season premiere of Law & Order.
Justice by other means.
Knight Rider, Life and Law & Order. Tonight, the new Night for Justice on NBC.
All right, here's Fritz with the fantastic weather.
Yeah, so Chuck, well, it's been about the wind since we had our rain about 18 hours ago or so, or 24 hours ago. And it was a northwest wind throughout most of the day today, shifting to a north wind and now becoming a northeast to southwest wind. That's a dry, warm, offshore flow. Wind advisories in effect until 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. LA and Ventura County mountains, excluding the Santa Monica range, gusts could go 50 miles an hour. And with the dryness and with the offshore flow, we could see coastal temperatures go 80 plus. However, in wind-protected spots in the Antelope Valley, it will be cold enough to warrant a frost advisory between 2 a.m. and 7 a.m., at least 2 hours, where temperatures go between 29 and 32 degrees. Be sure to let your pets come indoors. A little early in the year to be worrying about your flora and fauna, but bring the pets indoors anyway. All right, here's what we have going on. We're going to have a cool night. We'll have a cool several nights, actually. And we're going to have daytime highs tomorrow because of the offshore flow, get anywhere from 8 to 12 degrees warmer. And we're going to probably peak on Friday and then bring temperatures back down to more normal areas by the latter part of the 7-day outlook. Overnight tonight, mid and upper 40s to low 50s. 52 downtown, 51 at Long Beach. Highs tomorrow, nice and warm. Upper 70s to low 80s inland, Temecula, Riverside, 81. Same for Ontario. 56 degrees in the mountains and 81 degrees in the low desert. We'll be 80 in Burbank. Along the coast, the southern coastal spots like Newport and Huntington won't feel much of the offshore flow at 74, but look at this, 80 plus north of Rancho Palos Verdes, 81 degrees at Woodland Hills. Here's the 7-day outlook for LA, Ventura, and Orange County. We're warming toward Friday when all the coastal spots Friday are 80 plus, and that will be almost as warm as you'll find downtown and even in the valleys. And then we'll slowly cool down, and by the last 3 days of the 7-day outlook, we're going to be back to normal, low to mid 70s inland, mid and upper 60s at the beaches, and those clouds represent a return of the marine layer. Inland, the mountains will be in the 50s for a couple of days and then maybe up as warm as 60 on Friday and Saturday, but back down. And they're right at freezing overnight, so it's getting to be that time of year. Low desert in the 80s, and the valleys will warm toward Friday. That'll be their warmest day at 85 degrees as well. A beautiful day today.
It was.
Have a great night.
Thanks, Fritz. Tonight, a Palm Desert couple is speaking out about an incident at a local casino that left one of them in the hospital. As Channel 4's Mary Parks explains, they claim they were terrorized by a security guard.
Until a few weeks ago, Richard and Johnny Swan spent much of their free time playing slot machines at inland casinos. But the Air Force veteran and retired mortgage banker says he and his wife are done gambling after a bloody confrontation with security at one casino.
There's no excuse for the way they treated my husband. You know, he's a 70-year-old man.
The Swans say they were celebrating their anniversary at Pechanga Resort in Temecula when they had a disagreement with another casino patron over a slot machine. That's when they say security intervened and ordered them to leave.
They didn't give us reasons. They just said I had to leave.
Swan says he and his wife walked toward their hotel room to retrieve luggage when he was tackled from behind by security and handcuffed.
They slammed my face into the marble floor. Oh, that hurt. Blood was pouring out. I couldn't see out of my right eye. They were twisting and turning my arms. I kept screaming at them, please stop. I'm a 70-year-old man with a pacemaker. I could die. I'm going in and out of consciousness. Finally, they got me to my feet and they said, you will stand up and walk. I took one step and just passed out.
Swan was rushed by ambulance to a hospital. Because he takes the prescription blood thinner Coumadin, he feared a blood clot and had a CAT scan of his head. He still suffers a sprained wrist and a half-inch scar on his face.
Those men should be fired. They should be fired, and this kind of situation shouldn't be allowed.
In response, Amy Manier, president of Pechanga Development Corporation, says Pechanga deeply regrets what happened, and after reviewing policies and procedures, the officer involved is no longer employed. Mary Parks, Channel 4 News.
One network's election coverage last night took on a real science fiction feel.
The CNN hologram, did you see it? Tonight, we know how they did it.
Dodgers made a big roster move. USC coach Pete Carroll talks about the BCS. And for the second time in a week, Lakers getting ready to play the Clippers. We'll have a preview in just a few minutes.
Then coming up new tonight on Channel 4 News at 11, will local names be part of Barack Obama's cabinet? Plus a sudden rush for Obama souvenirs.
Also, a new and intimate reason to lose weight, how those extra pounds could, in fact, affect your love life. Those stories and all the late-breaking news after the season premiere of Law & Order on Southern California's local news leader, the #1 Channel 4 News at 11.
It's time for Fred and some sports.
All right, Anna, Chuck, one team has yet to lose, the other has yet to win. And tonight, for the second time in a week, Lakers and Clippers face off against each other at Staples. Lakers won the first meeting by 38. They haven't played, though, since Saturday, and that is a bit of a concern.
The energy and anxiety that's created by game competition creates a certain speed that this game's played at that is real tough to duplicate in practice. We're trying real hard as a team to duplicate that in practice, so we have a daily consistency.
How about this? While Barack Obama made history in becoming the first African-American to be elected president, former Suns guard Kevin Johnson secured a similar victory, albeit on a much smaller stage. Johnson was elected mayor of Sacramento last night, the first black to accomplish that feat. And after last night's victory by Obama, many are hoping he stays true to what he said during halftime of Monday Night Football's NFL game, when he was asked the first thing he'd change in sports if he could.
I think it is about time that we had playoffs in college football. I'm fed up with these computer rankings and this and that and the other. Get 8 teams, top 8 teams right at the end. You got a playoff, decide on a national champion.
Amen, Mr. President-elect. That view shared by many, including USC coach Pete Carroll, who says the BCS stinks, especially after the Trojans dropped from 5th to 7th in the latest rankings, despite a 56-0 win over Washington on Saturday.
I don't know how the computers thing work. I don't get that part of it, and I don't know how the computer knows how good another team is. I don't understand that. I don't know how they can evaluate who you're playing and stuff and all that, but that's why I'm coaching football.
Trojans host 21st ranked Cal Saturday at the Coliseum. Baseball, Dodgers have declined the option on pitcher Brad Penny, making him an unrestricted free agent. Also, Greg Maddux won a record 18th Gold Glove Award, the future Hall of Famer pondering retirement after 355 career wins. On the ice, Kings and Ducks faced off last night at Staples, and unlike the presidential race, this contest came down to the very end. Scoreless in overtime, Chris Pronger pulled the trigger, and that was the winner. Ducks won it 1-0. They host St. Louis tonight. This Sunday on The Challenge, our big-name guest will be Dodger owner Frank McCourt. I sat down with him today and talked about finally winning a playoff series and the hopes for more to come.
I was so happy, in particular for the fans, because I know what they've been through for the last 20 years. And I think that this is just the beginning of hopefully a run here that, we'll be able to continue to get better. And the more we play in the postseason, the more experienced we'll be and the more prepared for it will be. And I bet if you ask every one of our ball players, did they benefit from, that series with the Cubs, they would say, darn right they did.
We'll have more with Frank, including his thoughts on Manny Ramirez, Sunday night on The Challenge right after NFL football. Chuck?
Thank you, Fred. Last night, the networks brought out their most advanced gee-whiz gadgets for election night, including what many today are calling the Princess Leia, as in Star Wars Interview. Digital News Raw anchor McCullough Medina now answers the question, how did they do that?
As well. We're joined now via hologram.
It was something out of a sci-fi movie.
All this technology, I'm being beamed to you like it's Star Wars and stuff.
Yeah, it looks like basically like exactly like in Star Trek when they would beam people down. That's what it looks like.
The cable news network used emerging technology, an army of high-definition cameras, and a green screen tent to beam in rapper and Obama supporter will.i.am from a loud Chicago park where Obama spoke to its New York studios.
We're doing this interview with you this way because it's a lot quieter than having you in that crowd.
And it was just plain cool. Millions of Yahoo users thought so too, immediately searching for CNN hologram and will.i.am online, not any of the candidates. They wanted to figure out exactly how the technology worked.
I know, it's like I follow in the tradition of Princess Leia.
The first successful attempt was earlier in the night when a reporter's image was beamed into the New York studios. She goes on to explain how it was done.
I'm inside a tent in Chicago that's been built. Engineers spent about 3 weeks doing it. There are 35 high-definition cameras ringing me in a ring around me. I'm in the center, and they shoot my body at different angles, and I'm told that transmits what looks like an entire body image back there to New York.
It's new technology born from sci-fi come true on election night. From Digital News Raw, I'm McCallum Medina, Channel 4 News.
Oh my goodness.
Is that really you?
No, I was just thinking, there are angles I would never want beamed of me. And there will be lots of presidential portraits and photographs of Barack Obama, but take a look at this one. Who needs a brush and canvas when you've got an Etch-a-Sketch?
Wow,
Tim George of Ohio made this image of the president-elect. George has Etch-a-Sketched every president, and those images are now on display at Ohio's State House. Etch-a-Sketch, hologram. Two spectrums. And then there's your map. They're talking about it at CNN, your map and your clicker last night.
Sometimes low tech just works really well. Okay, that's it for us. Coming up next, Brian Williams at NBC Nightly News.
Good night, everyone.